Well, here we are, October 19th and 20th, A&T Homecoming. And we have anywhere from what I've been told 30,000 to 60,000 people here in Greensboro at the time of the homecoming. And there's plenty of police presence. So, what I thought I would do is most of you are aware that I saw a police officer throw a man who was handcuffed behind his back to the ground. And I thought I'd go around and ask all these cops on the scene, is it okay or when is it okay to actually throw a handcuffed man behind his back to the ground and try to get an answer to that?
Yeah, what's your name, sir?
Sergeant Ritter.
Sergeant Ritter. Sergeant Ritter, I was just asking, do you want that on? You can turn it on if you like. Okay, I don't see it like a red flashing or anything. Okay, I'm on too. Yeah, I was just curious. And your name is, sir?
Sergeant Ellsworth.
Sergeant Ellsworth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and your red lights don't flash on those things?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I was curious, when would it be? I'm glad you're sergeants because this is about a sergeant. When would it be okay for any police officer to throw a handcuffed suspect who's handcuffed behind his back to the ground?
I can't answer that. I don't know the situation.
Okay, I'll do it like I did with the corporal over here. Isn't that a corporal? The suspect is sitting in a wheelchair at the hospital. He's handcuffed behind his back. There are 3 other officers around this suspect. Okay? So that makes it 4 officers total around the suspect. A witness hears the officer say, "I told you to sit down," and looks over there at the what's going on, and notices this sergeant push this guy back down into the wheelchair, who is again handcuffed behind his back. But then in the same motion, grabs a hold of his shoulders up here, and then throws him out of the wheelchair to the hospital floor.
Is this something you witnessed?
It was witnessed, yeah, I witnessed it.
You witnessed it?
Yes.
If you got a problem with that, you probably need to call our internal affairs.
Well, I did.
I can give you the phone number.
Well, I did, and I filed a report, and when I filed the report, evidently none of your officers filed a use of force report on this incident.
Well, that would get to be for IA to investigate that.
Yeah, well, I did that, and after I filed the report, they came back and said, "Oh, we found that this was justified."
Okay.
How do you justify throwing anybody handcuffed behind their back to the floor when there's a chance you could cause their head to crash into the floor?
I can't answer that again. I don't know the situation, but if that's
Well, that was the situation. He was in a wheelchair.
It could have been different. I don't know everything.
And there were 4 officers
There's
there.
always a risk of injury. I mean, the professional standards investigated it. That's, I would take it up with them. They have
It was all on body cam. I saw the body cam. There was no reason for it.
I'm sorry.
And I told him that at the time. But, this doesn't do any good for the police to justify something that is so obviously and egregiously a violation of any kind of ethics within the police department.
Yeah.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Gerald Wong. I ran Wong, W-O-N-G. I ran for Congress in 2018.
Well, I can tell them you weren't happy with it. If you've already made contact with them, I'm sure they got your information.
Well, here's another thing about it. I tried to get the video. And you can see me on the video telling the officer Muldowney, "Hey, that's not necessary. The man's handcuffed behind his back." You can hear me. And they wouldn't release the video to me, even though I'm on the video and my voice is on the video.
Okay.
What's the reason for that? I mean, I know you got that's legal mumbo jumbo, but
But I would follow for the professional standards.
I did. It doesn't do any good.
Contact number?
Oh yeah, yeah. I have the sergeant's name in charge. Evidently, a new sergeant took over at about the same time you got a new captain.
Yeah.
Well, is it Captain Thompson? Is he?
You got Chief Thompson.
Chief Thompson. Okay, Chief Thompson.
Well,
But anyways, could I ask you officers a question? I was just curious about policy within the Greensboro Police Department. If you have a handcuffed suspect behind his back Is it okay to throw them to the ground?
So I can refer you to our PIO. Would you like the number to our PIO?
No, I'm trying to get the an average officer's perspective on throwing a handcuffed suspect to
Or
the
I can
ground.
refer you to our Office of Community Engagement, and then they can get you.
Well, I'm just trying to get, like I said, the average officer's comment on that kind of thing.
You know, I mean, that's what I can give you at this time. But if, you know,
So I'm sorry, I run a YouTube channel. It's called Skaditch. I witnessed an officer throw a handcuffed man who was handcuffed behind a black man, as a matter of fact, thrown to the ground by a white officer at the hospital, at Cone Hospital. Picked him up out of a wheelchair and throw him to the ground when he was handcuffed behind his back. Would that be okay at any time?
and if you have a concern about something, you can also go speak with somebody.
No, it's not my concern. I'm just trying to get the average officer's reaction to it, so you don't all seem like robots.
I mean, that's where I can refer you at this time. And anything else, I can refer you to our internal affairs.
Is that something you would do? Throw a handcuffed suspect behind his back to the ground out of a wheelchair?
So I can give you our number to our PIO. You can either speak with somebody in
All
internal
right, thank you,
affairs,
officer. I appreciate your time.
or we can talk to.
Well, I thought I'd like to ask the sergeant a question. Huh?
What you need?
What's your rank?
I'm a supervisor in watch operations.
Well, are you a police officer?
I work for the police department, but I'm a civilian.
Okay, but you don't have arresting authority, do you?
No.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to talk to the sergeant. Anyway, Sergeant, I'd like to ask you a question, if I might. I wanted to get your personal opinion, not the standard department issue answer, if I can. When is it okay for a police officer to throw a suspect to the ground when he's handcuffed behind his back?
So I don't know what you're talking about, and I'm not going to talk to you.
How about if I gave you a better description?
I am not going to talk to you on camera. Just like you have a right to film me, I do not have to talk to you.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
So
But I'm just,
we'll be done with that conversation, because I'm not going to talk to you on camera.
I just let you know
Not because I'm trying to hide
I'm just
anything,
trying to
but-
let you know I do run a YouTube channel. What's your name, sir?
I got you, Johnson.
Huh?
Johnson.
Do you have a badge number, sir?
899.
899. And that's all you got to say on that, huh?
You have a nice day. Okay?
Okay, that's what I figured. Okay, so there we have another sergeant that refuses to talk about an obvious violation, ethical violation of a human process, not a department process. Can I ask the senior officer a question here? This gentleman? When is it, can I get your name and badge number, please?
Why would you need that?
I'd like to know who the officer I'm talking to. Isn't that your general order number 1, is to identify yourself to the public?
Normally when someone is asking for a badge number, it's a complaint.
No, I don't have a complaint. I just want to know who I'm talking to. Isn't that your order? Is standard policy?
My name is Officer Arroyo.
Arroyo?
Yes, sir.
Officer Arroyo. What rank are you?
Officer.
Oh. But you're the senior officer here? He's got stripes, she's got stripes? Anyway, I just have a question for you. You guys are very offish here. Why is that? You're not very friendly.
We're friendly.
You are?
Yes, sir.
I've talked to officers up and down the street, and they're all very nice and polite. You guys seem very cold and
Due to our position, we have to be a little bit more attentive to what's going on.
more than what these other officers
I
are.
can't say what they're going through.
Okay, officer, in your opinion, when would it be okay for a police officer to throw a handcuffed suspect, handcuffed behind his back, to the ground?
So we've been busy here.
Yeah, I know I'm busy too. I'm busy too. I don't believe I'm in your way. I'll move out of the way.
Okay.
So when would it be okay for an officer to throw a handcuffed suspect to the ground?
Answering the questions right now, sir. Okay?
All right. I was just asking for your personal opinion.
Okay, well, we don't have time for questions right now.
You don't have time for your personal. You don't have time. It's a red light.
Sir, we have traffic going back and forth.
Yeah, I can see that. They're not turning here though. So you just don't want to answer the question. I mean, I'm just trying to get your personal opinion on a police policy. Okay. Well, this intersection is very unfriendly, officers. YouTube channel called Skaditch.
Okay.
And I had a question for you. I am gonna have it on camera if you don't mind. There it is. Okay, I've been walking up and down talking to all the officers at all the roadblocks.
Okay.
And can I get your name and badge number, please?
I'm Corporal Brown, badge is 1561.
Thank you. The last intersection, they refused to give that to me, even though that's your general order number 1 of your policy is to identify yourself. But they refused.
Okay.
I'm aware of it because I looked it up.
Okay.
But anyway, I got a question for you. I was hoping to get something outside, and I know it's going to be difficult. It might not even be possible. But a personal opinion from Greensboro police officers on.
That's something we can't do nowadays. In uniform, we don't do personal opinions because then it's a reflection on the department, which we don't want to have.
And I understand it. You may not answer, just like most of them. But in a scenario where you have a handcuffed suspect who's handcuffed behind his back, and he's in a wheelchair, is it ever okay to throw that person out of that wheelchair to the floor?
I would think most of the time not. But I mean, I can't say every circumstance is going to be
I
the same.
understand. Thank you. I appreciate that.
There's always
And I'm gonna
situations.
tell you exactly what I told the other sergeants down at the other end. I witnessed that happen at the Moses Cone Hospital. One Sergeant Muldowney did it to a black handcuffed suspect. I reported it to the police department. They did not file a use of force report on it. And after I did, the superiors justified it. So I was just wondering, when is something like that ever really justified?
Again, depending on the situation, I wasn't there.
Well,
It's not a-
officer, thank you for a direct answer. I appreciate it.
It's a hard answer to give without knowing every little.
I understand it,
little
but
thing.
yours was the best answer so far.
I mean, it could be you always have this random situation. Well, what if this handicapped person had like a boot knife, like the
Well, he
so-
wasn't handicapped. He was handcuffed behind his back.
Well, you said wheelchair.
They had him sitting in a wheelchair.
Okay, because you said wheelchair. I
He
assumed
was a suspect that evidently was arrested, and he was brought to the hospital for some reason.
I mean, if somebody becomes combative, they get placed on the ground.
Place.
But if they start resisting, it might look like they've been thrown.
No, I witnessed it. He was thrown.
And again, I'm not being there. I can't make.
I know. I'm just telling you what I saw. But your superior said it was justified after I had complained and found out that they did not. There were 4 officers there. None of them filed a use of force report until I complained. And so anyway, the officer I'm talking about is one Sergeant Muldowney. So I just let you know.
Yeah, not having been there, I can't really say.
Yeah, I understand
one way
that.
or another what.
But I appreciate the fact that, normally, what you said, normally that would not be a thing to do.
Yeah, but not knowing the situation, the circumstances, if there was a history that the officers or the security staff had with that person, that sometimes comes into play as well. If we have a history with somebody, we know them to be combative or violent or have issues with, sometimes it changes the situation. Rather than just come up to somebody, handcuffed.
But wouldn't you think once he's handcuffed behind his back, and there's 4 officers around him, that person's in control?
No, I have been assaulted by people in handcuffs.
With 4 officers around them.
Yes.
And he was able to reach around from behind his back and assault you?
No, I've been assaulted by people handcuffed. It happens. It's not few and far between. It can happen. So depending on the situation.
Yeah,
just
but
because there are 4 officers there, we're trying not to use an extreme amount of force, just the most reasonable amount. But from the outside, what we consider reasonable in one thing, it's perspective. It's hard to gauge what one person says is reasonable and what another person does not. And that's where explanation has to come in and then go through it and see how we do it.
I've done a lot of research on this because I witnessed that, and I felt like an officer that is willing to do that in front of a citizen, make that kind of egregious move, I wonder what that officer is willing to do when no one's looking.
And again, with what you consider egregious, I have no basis.
I think it would be egregious to any reasonable person, you know. I ran for Congress in 2018. I didn't get elected, needless to say. But one of my big things was police accountability in their actions. And I respect police. I respect good police. But the only way to make the public respect police again, because there's a lot of bad trends right now with police officers. I think you're probably aware of that. And the only way to combat that and get people start coming around is when a bad police officer does something, good police officers have to report him. And there were 3 other police officers there that did nothing. And they didn't file a use of force report.
I don't have access to know who did what.
Yeah, I know. I realize that. But in my opinion, that there were 3 other officers there that allowed this to happen and did not file. And I know it's policy to file a use of force report on that type of thing. So the only way that we can make police officers trustworthy again is to start seeing a lot more of this in the news cycles where good cops have reported bad cops. And that's got to start happening, because there's a lot of good cops out there. You guys put your lives on the line. I understand that. That's great. But in order to get society behind you again, we got to stop seeing all these bad cops out there. Because one bad cop, it taints everybody around him, that whole department. And when a cop like this gets away with something like that, it's just, you know, it's another, here they go again, you know, cover up. Anyway, officer, thank you for your time and answering my question most forthrightly this time.
Yeah, I mean, opinions we're not allowed to give because what I say might not be something that the city or the department agrees with, so we limit that, especially when we're wearing this uniform.
Anyway, I have a YouTube channel. It's called Skaditch.
Okay.
So it will probably appear on there. You'll see some of the other officers. They were a lot more evasive, but I appreciate your time.
Not a problem. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yourself personally, not policy. I was just wondering when it would be okay for an officer to have a suspect who is handcuffed behind their back, throw that suspect to the ground. Is that okay?
No, I would say generally that's not okay. No.
Thank you. I appreciate that answer. How about you? What is that? They call that a corporal or?
I think it would be situationally dependent.
Okay, what if this individual was a black man and he was handcuffed behind his back in a wheelchair and he was thrown to the ground by a police sergeant out of that wheelchair?
Well, without all the facts, I don't know. I can't make a judgment on that.
Okay, well, I appreciate that too. That's the answer I get from most people. So far, this gentleman and the Greensboro police officer over there has said, well, generally, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, generally, but there are exceptions to everything.
Anyway, there you have it. Besides two police officers, one deputy and one police officer, who actually used their brain to say, no, 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 normally that shouldn't be done. All the others are just mindless robots that will, if a bad cop rushes in and does something bad, they're going to rush right in with them and help them continue doing whatever that bad cop is doing, even if it hurts an innocent person. So I give kudos to those two police officers. And that's all I wanted to do today, find out what kind of mentality our police department, our individual officers have. Thank you for tuning in, and I'm still working on my lawsuit against the Guilford Sheriff's Department.